The galactic Colosseum of Groth had stood for 11,000 years. 11,000 years of champions. 11,000 years of warriors drawn from 100 species across 6 star systems. 11,000 years of unbroken records. And at the center of every record, standing like a monolith carved from living stone, was Groth the Unbroken. 9 feet of muscle. Bone reinforced with calcium titanite deposits. Reflexes clocked at 0.003 seconds. A nervous system that could process incoming strikes and reroute pain signals faster than most species could blink. The announcer's voice boomed across 50,000 screaming spectators. Groth has stood in this arena for 43 years. He has fought 417 opponents. He has never been struck. Not once. Not a single blow has landed on Groth the Unbroken. And today, the Galactic Council, in what many are calling an act of cosmic cruelty, has sent a human. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Not the polite kind. The belly-deep, tears-in-your-eyes kind. Emma pressed her face against the reinforced transparent steel of the observation booth and watched the tiny figure walking into the arena below. "He looks so small," she whispered. "He's not small," said the Velthian diplomat beside her, adjusting his translation collar. "He is exactly average for his species. That is, perhaps, the most terrifying thing." Emma turned to look at him. Terrifying? The diplomat's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "We have studied humans for 19 years, Ambassador Chun. We have still not fully understood them. That is what terrifies us." Down in the arena, Jack Mercer rolled his shoulders and cracked his neck. He was 6 feet even, 188 pounds. Brown hair, cut military short. Scars on his knuckles that told their own long story. He wore no armor. The Colosseum rules allowed it, and Jack had simply declined. "You want padding?" his handler had asked, a nervous Varithian with twitching antennae. "No," Jack had said. "Groth's strikes have been measured at 400 kilograms of force per. I heard you the first time. You could die." Jack had looked at the handler with the kind of calm that made species with 6th sense emotional receptors physically uncomfortable. "I know," he said. "That's fine." Groth entered from the opposite gate. The crowd's laughter died instantly, replaced by something older and more primal: awe. The creature moved like a glacier given intent. Each footfall shook the arena floor. His hide was the color of deep volcanic rock, and his 4 arms, each ending in a fist the size of a human torso, swung slowly at his sides. His eyes were amber, ancient, utterly without fear. He had never needed fear. Fear is for those who can be hurt. The High Arbiter raised his ceremonial staff. Let the match begin. What happened next would be replayed, analyzed, and debated for the next 200 years of galactic sports history. Groth did what he always did. He assessed. He stood still for exactly 1.2 seconds, his standard opening, cataloging his opponent's stance, weight distribution, likely attack vectors. He had done this 417 times. It worked 417 times. In those 1.2 seconds, Jack Mercer moved. Not telegraphed. Not wide. Not the kind of aggressive charge that Groth's nervous system was optimized to read. Jack moved the way water moves around a stone, sideways, slipping into Groth's near-side blind spot at an angle that the Unbroken's threat assessment algorithms had never, in 43 years, needed to account for, because no opponent had ever been fast enough to use it. Strike 1. Jack's left elbow came up into the junction where Groth's lower left arm connected to his torso. Not a killing blow. Not intended to be. A pressure strike, targeting the nerve cluster buried there under 3 inches of calcium-reinforced hide. A nerve cluster that Varithian anatomists had charted, that Jack had memorized from a data pad in his bunk 3 nights before the fight, eating a protein bar and listening to old Earth jazz. Groth's lower left arm spasmed. For the first time in 43 years, Groth the Unbroken felt something unexpected. He felt contact. Strike 2 came before his brain finished processing the first. Jack was already underneath him, moving in the one direction Groth's mass worked against him. Close. Dangerously, impossibly close. No sane opponent came close to Groth. Close was where his strength lived. Close was where 4 arms could wrap around a body and simply end things. But close was also where his vision narrowed. Jack's right palm drove upward into the base of Groth's jaw, a calculated, anatomically precise strike. Not with the knuckles. The palm. More surface area. More transmitted force. Less damage to the hand. Groth's head snapped back 2 inches. 2 inches. For a 9-foot calcium-armored god of war, 2 inches meant almost nothing. Except his eyes lost focus for 0.4 seconds. Strike 3. Jack had already mapped those 0.4 seconds. He'd been mapping them since the moment he walked into the arena. He drove the same left elbow, now moving with torque from his full body rotation, into Groth's right knee joint, specifically the lateral articulation point. Not to break it. Humans couldn't break calcium titanite bone with bare hands. But to shift it, to make Groth's next step land 2 degrees off-center. It worked. Groth stepped. It landed wrong. His massive frame compensated, brilliantly, automatically, as 43 years of combat instinct fired at once. And in compensating, he turned his back by 6 degrees. 6 degrees. Emma, watching from the booth above, realized she'd stopped breathing. Strike 4 was the one the analysts would argue about the longest. Jack's foot came up in a sharp rising kick aimed at the back of Groth's left knee, the one that had just overcorrected, and the impact was enough to buckle it. Slightly, fractionally, but Groth went to one knee. The crowd went silent. 50,000 beings who had never, in their lifetimes, seen Groth on one knee. For 0.6 seconds, there was absolute silence in the galactic Colosseum of Vorith. And then strike 5. Jack stepped back. 1 step, then planted. Then drove forward with every pound of his weight behind his right fist, which had already been cocked from the moment he started the step back, a motion so practiced it had no wasted beat, and he hit Groth the Unbroken directly in the left orbital ridge of his primary eye. Groth went sideways. He didn't fall. He caught himself on one of his upper arms. But he went sideways, and his head turned, and his amber eye, the ancient, fearless eye that had seen 417 opponents and found none of them worthy, blinked. Groth blinked. And he looked at the human crouching 5 feet away, knees bent, hands up, breathing hard but controlled, and he understood, for the first time in 43 years, what it was to look at something he did not fully understand. The fight lasted another 23 minutes. Jack did not win. No one expected him to. Groth recovered, adapted, and the sheer arithmetic of his mass and reach eventually proved decisive. Jack was pinned at minute 23, unable to move but also, to Groth's visible confusion, completely unafraid. The arbiter called it. Groth stood. He looked down at the human beneath his fist. Then he did something he had never done in 43 years. He stepped back. He raised one massive fist, not in threat, in salute. The crowd, after a stunned moment, erupted. Up in the booth, Emma let out the breath she'd been holding for 23 minutes. The Velthian diplomat was very quiet beside her. He lost, he finally said. He landed 5 strikes on Groth the Unbroken, Emma replied. 5. In the first 3 seconds. Before Groth even processed that the fight had started. Yes, the diplomat said slowly. And that is the thing I cannot explain about your species. Emma turned to look at him. He came here knowing he would lose, the diplomat said. He studied. He planned. He executed with precision. He accepted the inevitable outcome, and he still showed up, and he still found a way to make his mark. What is that? What is the name for that? Emma smiled. We just call it Tuesday, she said. In the debriefing room below the arena, Jack sat with an ice pack on his jaw and a medic trying to assess the cracked ribs he kept insisting were not a big deal. A Vorithian official approached him carefully. Groth has requested your name, the official said. For the record of the worthy. Jack looked up. There's a record of the worthy? There has never been a reason to use it before. Jack was quiet for a moment. Jack Mercer, he said. Corporal, retired. Earth. 3rd rock from a yellow sun. The official wrote it down with the kind of reverence usually reserved for ancient scripture. Jack went back to his ice pack. Outside, 50,000 beings were still buzzing with the same question, in 50 different languages. What do you do about a species that already knows it's going to lose, and hits you 5 times before you realize the fight has started? The galaxy did not yet have an answer. It was only beginning to understand the question.